Hi friends, are you ready to master the most powerful operating system used by developers, system admins and DevOps engineers across the world? Welcome to this Linux crash course. Within this just one video, you will go from zero to confident Linux user. Whether you are a complete beginner preparing for DevOps interviews or just tired of being afraid of the terminal, then this video is for you. So in this video, we are going to learn complete Linux operating system related topics. So as part of this, I'm going to cover what is operating system and Windows versus Linux operating system. What is the Linux history? What are the Linux distributions available? How to set up Linux machine in the AWS cloud? And how can we connect with that Linux machine by using SSH client softwares? What is Linux architecture? How to work with the files and directories in the Linux? How to work with the text editors in the Linux, how to work with the users and groups in the Linux, basically user management, and how to work with password based authentication in the Linux, and how to deal with the file permissions, how to change file owners, how to work with the networking commands in the Linux, how to work with the package managers, how to install softwares in the Linux, how to host a website in the Linux machine, and most important interview questions from Linux operating system. And I promise here, no boring theory. This is completely hands-on practical real world Linux explained in the simple English. Okay, so stay with me till the end of this video. Then definitely you can keep Linux in your resume when you are going to attend the interviews. And last but not least, you may get a question. Sir, why we need to learn all these Linux topics where we are going to use these Linux topics in the real time? And believe me, in the real time, every project will be deployed on Linux machine only. Our project servers, our project database servers, our DevOps tools, everything will be hosted on the Linux machine because of its advantages. All right. So if you see all these DevOps tools, we are going to set up on the Linux machines in the real time. And before getting started for the Linux crash course, a small request from my side. Please like this video and encourage our team to make more videos like this. And after watching this video, please share your opinion as a comment for this video. Thank you. Let's get started. Coming to the actual topic, what is operating system? Operating system is a software that is going to act as mediator between users and computers. As you see in the diagram, if user want to perform some operation in the computer, then definitely operating system is required, which is going to act as a mediator. Without having operating system, we cannot use that computer. There is no use of computer if OS is not available in that. And there are several operating systems available in the market. Windows, Linux, Mac operating systems are available. Next one, what is Windows operating system? Windows operating system developed by Microsoft company, and this is commercial operating system. We need to purchase the license to use the Windows operating system, and Windows is GUI based operating system. GUI based nothing but graphical user interface. So if you go to Windows machine, here you can perform operations with the GUI. For example, I want to rename this file. I can right click and I can do the file rename. Similarly, I can delete this file, I can copy this file, and I can perform several operations with the GUI. So that is the reason Windows operating system is called as GUI based operating system. And it is single user based operating system. Nothing but only one person can use Windows machine at a time. That is the reason it is called single user based operating system. And the security features are less in the Windows operating system. That's why we will install antivirus softwares in the Windows machine to protect our files from virus. And Windows operating system is recommended for personal use. If you want to play the games, watch movies, attend online classes, then you can use Windows operating system. But in the real time, as part of our project's development and project operations, project deployments, we are going to use Linux machines. What is Linux? Linux is community-based operating system. That means it is not belongs to any company. And Linux is free operating system and it is open source. You no need to pay the money in order to use this Linux operating system. And this is CLI based operating system. CLI based operating system nothing but command line operating system. In the Windows, GUI will be available to perform the operations, whereas in the Linux, CLI based operations we need to do. For example, if I want to see all the files in the Linux machine, ls command. If I want to create one file, then h command. Okay, if I want to create one directory, mkdir command. So like this, we are going to use commands to perform operations in the Linux. That's why Linux is called as CLI based operating system, whereas Windows is called as GUI based operating system. And another advantage, Linux is multi-user based operating system. That means multiple people can connect with the same Linux machine at a time and can perform multitasking. So in the team, there are 5 people available. They want to work with the Jenkins machine at a time to create the pipelines. Yes, these 5 people can connect with the same Linux machine at a time. That's the reason it is called as multi-user based operating system. And Linux provides high security when compared with the Windows machine. So that's why we no need to install antivirus softwares in the Linux machine, but for Windows it is required. And for business use cases, like if you want to deploy your servers, if you want to deploy your application, if you want to set up your infrastructure required for the project, if you want to store the logs of your application, people will use Linux operating system. So what are the differences between Windows and Linux? You can understand here. Coming to the next point, how this Linux operating system came into market, what is the history behind Linux operating system. Linux operating system developed by a person called Linus Torvalds in the year of 1991. This person got inspired by another operating system, which is Minix operating system. Earlier, he used Unix operating system and he gave some suggestions to change the Unix operating system, but they rejected his suggestions. Then he found the Minix operating system, which is similar to his ideas. Then he has taken the source code of the Minix operating system and he modified that according to his ideas. Then he provided that new operating system into market with a name called Linux. So he has taken 2 characters from his name and the last 3 characters from the Minix and he named it as Linux operating system. That's the reason it is called community-based operating system. It's not belongs to any company. Linus Torvalds developed this Linux operating system and gave into market for free of cost, and it is open source also. This Linux operating system is free and open source. When this software came into market along with the source code, many companies taken the source code of the Linux operating system and they modified that source code according to their requirement and they released into market with the different names. Those are called as Linux distributions. So there are several distributions available for Linux operating system like Amazon Linux, Red Hat Linux, Ubuntu Linux, CentOS, SUSE Linux, Kali Linux, Fedora Linux is available. So please comment on this video which Linux distribution you are using in your project. Right. So like this, there are 200 plus Linux distributions available in the market. Based on the requirement, people will choose any one distribution to set up their infrastructure. So these Linux distributions are also called as Linux flavors. 200 plus flavors available for Linux operating system from different companies. All these companies has taken the source code of the Linux OS given by Linus Torvalds. They modified that and they released into market with their own brand name. Those are called Linux distributions. All right. Next one, how we are going to practice Linux commands. How we are going to learn the Linux OS as part of this course. We are going to take one Linux virtual machine in the AWS cloud and we will connect with that Linux virtual machine by using SSH client. So I'm using my Windows machine to take this class. So here I want to practice Linux. For that, I will take a Linux machine in the AWS cloud for free of cost. Then I will connect it to that Linux machine from my Windows machine by using SSH client. There are several SSH client softwares available in the market for free of cost. We can use Git Bash as a SSH client to connect with that machine. You can use Mobile Extra. You can use Putty also to connect with this machine. In this video, I will show you how to create Linux machine in the AWS cloud and how to connect with that by using Git Bash as a SSH client. And in the description of this video, I'm giving the links to understand how to connect with the EC2 Linux machine by using mobile extram and putty also. So total, you can use 3 approaches to connect with the Linux machine by using SSH client option. Here I logged in into my AWS account. You can go to services and select compute option. Here you can see EC2, which is used to create virtual servers in the cloud. Select this EC2. Here there is an option called launch instance option is available. Click on this option. Here I'm giving the name for my instance as my VM, and you can select the AMI. Here there are different AMIs available like Amazon Linux, Ubuntu Linux, Red Hat Linux, and Windows, Mac OS also available. I'm selecting Amazon Linux, and here instance type, which is very important. I'm selecting T2 Micro, which is free tier eligible. This will give 1 GB RAM. If you want high configuration system, then you can select the instance types, but charges applicable. Suppose if you go for T2 medium instance, 4 GB RAM will be available, but per hour bill will be generated. For practice purpose, I'm going to use T2 Micro, which is free tier eligible, nothing but it's free of cost. Then coming to key pair, this is used to connect with our machine securely. If you have the key pairs already, you can select those key pairs. If you don't have, you can create a new key pair. I'm creating new key pair. Click on create new key pair. You can give the name for that. I'm using a name, and I will select .pem here. I'm going to create a PEM file, my AWS PEM. Right now, click on create key pair. It will download the key pair in our system. You can see in the downloads folder, one key pair is downloaded. Okay. Once it is downloaded, then you can select launch instance. With this, our EC2 instance is getting created. Once instance is created, you can see the instance ID. Click on this instance ID, then it will display the instance information. Now, you can select the instance by using this checkbox, and you can refresh the state of this. Now the instance state is running. So once you select this checkbox, it will display the information of the instance, public IP of the instance, private IP of the instance. We will use this public IP to connect with this machine. Now, once you select this checkbox, here connect option is enabled. Click on this connect option, and here SSH client option is available. I'm selecting SSH client. So here they have provided the steps also in order to connect with this machine. Open SSH client. I'm going to use git bash as the SSH client. So simply type download git. Okay. So once you click on download git, you can go to the gitscm.com website. Here you can download the git client for your machine. So I'm using Windows machine, so I can download it for Windows. Then git client software will be downloaded in the .exe file. You simply install that git client software. So once you have installed that git client, you can go to the location where the PEM file is downloaded. So in the downloads folder, my AWS PEM file is downloaded. So this is the location of my PEM file. Now go to the location where the PEM file is available. Right click on your mouse and go to show more options. Here git bash is. I have already installed git bash in my system. So once you install the git client, you will get this option. Simply click on this. With this, git client software will open here. This one we are using as a SSH client in order to connect with the EC2 instance. Now go to the AWS. Here they have given the steps. By following these steps, we can connect. I opened my client and I located where my PEM file is available. Then I need to give read permission for this PEM file. So by using this chmod command, I will give the read permission for the PEM file. Just click on this icon to copy the command, go to the git bash and execute it. So with this, we are able to execute that command. Then go and copy this example command here. This is SSH client command. So by using this SSH command, we can connect with the EC2 instance. I'm just copying this command. Now go to this git bash and right click, paste it. So execute this command also. Once we execute this command, it is asking, are you sure you want to continue connect with the machine? Yes, I want to connect with that machine. With this, I'm trying to connect with the EC2 instance by using this SSH client. Yes, if you are able to see this option, that means successfully I'm able to connect with the EC2 instance by using git bash. So you can execute the commands here, Linux commands. Who am I? So who am I command will display with which username we connected to this machine. We connected to this machine by using EC2 user. And here you can practice the Linux command. Coming to the Linux architecture, Linux will maintain layered architecture. As you see in the diagram, you can run applications in the Linux machine, then shell will be available, kernel will be available, hardware will be available. Hardware means devices, drivers, printers, some terminals will be available. When you run any application or when you run any command in the Linux machine, then shell is responsible to process that command. The shell is like a container. It will verify our command is valid or not. If our command is valid, then shell will convert our command into kernel understandable form. Kernel is heart of the Linux operating system, which will convey the information to the hardware to perform the actual operation. So here, shell is going to act as a mediator between user and the kernel will act as a mediator between shell and hardware. So what is the shell? Shell is like a container and it is an interface between users and kernel. So when you perform any operation, then shell will convert that operation into kernel understandable format. Then kernel will give the information to the hardware to perform the actual system operation. Right. The default shell that we are going to use is bash shell in the Linux machine, and the shell is most commonly used to run the commands. So when you want to perform any operation in the Linux machine, we will execute a command. Linux is CLI based operating system. So if you want to check your present working directory, we are executing a command. Who processed this command? How we got the output? Shell will process our command. Shell will give this command to kernel understandable format. Then kernel will communicate with the hardware in order to perform that operation. Right. So here in the Linux machine, the default shell is bash shell. We can check what is the default shell in the Linux machine by using this command. So I have already connected to my Linux machine. Let me execute this command echo $0. Bash shell, it is displayed. There is another way to check this, echo $shell. A system variable I am using to print the shell information. /bin/bash is printing. That means in this Linux machine, default shell is bash shell. This is used to process our commands and convert our command into kernel understandable form. What is this kernel? Kernel is heart of the Linux operating system, and this kernel is one of the main component in the Linux machine. So without kernel, we cannot use the Linux machines. The kernel is the core component and it will act as a mediator between the processes that we are running and the hardware. What kernel does in the Linux machine? Kernel is responsible for memory management. It is responsible for process management in the Linux machine. It is responsible to manage device drivers in the Linux, and it will make system calls and it will take care of the security in the Linux machine. So please remember, shell and kernel, two important components in the Linux. Shell is a mediator between user and kernel. Kernel is the mediator between the shell and hardware. Kernel is the main component which will communicate with the hardware components in the Linux machine. Next one, coming to the Linux file system hierarchy. In the Linux operating system, everything will be represented as a file only. When we go for Windows, C drive, D drive, E drive, like that we will do the partition in the Windows machine. Whereas in the Linux, everything will start from root directory. Inside the root, some subdirectories will be available. Observe this diagram carefully. This represents Linux file system hierarchy. Now, if you go to the Linux machine, currently I connected to this Linux machine as a EC2 user. Let me go to root directory. cd space / change the directory to the / means root directory. Now I change it to root directory, then execute a command called ls-l command. So it is printing the Linux file system hierarchy. So this is the Linux file system hierarchy which is starting from the root directory. Okay, so inside this root directory, all these subdirectories will be available. Let us understand what is the purpose of this each subdirectory in the Linux machine. The first one is bin directory. What is this bin directory in the Linux machine? You can see bin is available inside the root directory. Okay, this root directory contains all the files which are belongs to root user called super user in the Linux machine. Then inside the root directory bin available. Bin directory contains essential ready to run programs. Our binaries will be available in the bin directory. So what are the user commands we are executing? Those commands will be available in bin directory. Okay, in the Windows we will call it as a folder, in the Linux we will call it as a directory. Directory means folder. The next one, /boot directory is available. Boot directory contains some files which are helpful to run our Linux machine, to bootstrap our Linux machine. Whenever you start the Linux machine, some bootstrapping process will happen. To do that bootstrapping, some files will be available inside the boot directory. You get my point? The kernel is also part of this boot directory. And /dev directory. Dev directory nothing but device files will be available. The system hardware input output operations will be available in this device directory. The next one, /etc directory is available. The etc directory contains system configuration file. And /home directory is available, which is very important for us. Linux is multi-user based operating system. Multiple user accounts we can create in the Linux machine. For every user, one user home directory will be created inside the /home. Now if you see, currently I connected to this machine as a EC2 user. Let me go to EC2 user home directory. If you see my present working directory, I am inside /home/EC2 user. So if you create another user account in the Linux machine, for that user, one home directory will be created inside the home. /home directory contains the user home directory. Linux is multi-user based operating system. Multiple user accounts we can create. For every user, one home directory will be available to perform our operation. Then /lib directory is available, which contains shared library. Then next one, /media. Removable media files will be available in the media directory. Then next one, mount directory, mounted file system. So if you want to mount, suppose for example in the AWS EFS, Elastic File System is available. I want to mount it to a particular directory in the Linux machine. Then we can use that mount. Mounted file systems will be available in this /mount directory. Then /opt. Optional application software packages. If you want to install any particular software, if you want to keep any software, then you can use this opt directory. Then temp directory will be available, which will contain temporary files. We can delete those temporary files. /usr, user utilities and user applications we can keep in this /user directory. So this is the Linux file system hierarchy. And remember, everything is starting from root directory in the Linux, and for your user account, one user home directory will be available. Now, we connected with our Linux machine. Let us execute some basic Linux commands here. If you want to know about any particular Linux command, guys, some documentation commands also available in the Linux. For the documentation purpose, you can use man command. For example, I want to know about pwd command, man pwd. Man command will give you the information about the pwd command. So you can see pwd command, print a name of current working directory. What is the purpose of the command? What is the description of the command? You can get this kind of documentation by using man command. Man command will give you very short description. If you want to exit from this man page, press Q to quit. I came out from this man page. If you want to get more information about this command, you can use info command. Info space pwd. Info page. Information page will be available for this pwd command. It will give you more information when compared with the man command. Similarly, if you want to come out from this info page, Control C. Then next, help command is available, help space pwd. If you want to know what is the help of this command, what is the main purpose of this command, you can get it by using help command. Man command, info command, help command. These are called as documentational commands in the Linux machine. And let me execute few other commands here. So if you want to see currently with which username you logged in, you can use who am I. Who am I command will display currently logged in username. Okay, then next one, if you want to see what is your present working directory, then you can execute pwd command. Currently I am pointing to /home/ec2 user directory. If you want to see the current date, then you can execute a date command. It will print system date. If you execute cal command, it will print calendar. So current month calendar it is printed. For example, I want to print the calendar of the year 2030. Cal space 2030. 2030 year calendar it is printed. For example, I want to print the calendar of month May 2030 year. Cal 05 represents May month 2030. 2030 May month calendar it is printed. If you use only cal current month calendar it is printed. If you use a cal month space year, that year calendar it is going to print. Good. Next one, you can use a command called uname command. Uname command will display the information, system information. Okay. And if you execute a command called uname-r, if you use uname-r command, it will display the kernel version, kernel release version it is going to print. And if you execute uname-i command, it will display the hardware information, hardware platform. We are using Linux machine. This is the hardware version of that Linux machine. And if you execute arch command, architecture, what is the architecture of this Linux machine? It is printed. Similarly, if you execute uptime command, it will print from when this machine is up and running. And if you execute free command, it will print the memory level details, how much memory is available, how much memory we have used, how much memory is free. This information we can get by using this free command. And if you execute this clear command, it is going to clear the terminal. So these are the very basic commands that we can practice in the Linux machine. What are the commands we have executed? Guys? We have executed man command, info command, help command. These are called documentational commands. Next one, who am I will display logged in username. PWD will display present working directory, and the date command, current date it will print. Cal command, current month calendar it will print. Cal 2050 year calendar it will print. Cal 05 2050. It will print May month calendar of 2050 year. And we have executed a command called uname command. It will print system information. Uname-r command, it will print kernel version. If you use uname-i command, it will print the hardware platform information. If you execute arch command, system architecture details it is going to print. If you execute uptime command, it will print from when this machine is up and running. And if you execute free command, it will print memory level details, how much memory available, how much memory used, that information we can get. And if you execute clear command, then it will clear the terminal. And here another beauty command, if you execute history, it will print what all the commands that you have executed. So what commands that you have executed in the Linux machine, the list of commands you have executed, complete information it is going to print. This is history command. I connected with my Linux machine by using git bash, which we are using as SSH client. So here, first thing, I'm executing ls command. Ls command is used to list down the content available in present working directory. So when I execute ls command, I'm not getting any content, nothing but in the present working directory, nothing is available. I want to create one directory, mkdir directory name. So I'm giving the directory name as DevOps. Now execute ls command. Now you can see one directory is created with a name called DevOps. Similarly, let's make one more directory, AWS. So with this, we are able to understand how to create directories in the Linux machine. If you want to remove the directory, then we can use rmdir, AWS. rmdir command is used to remove the directory in the machine. If the directory is empty, then only we can remove that by using rmdir command. If you want to see the content with the long listing information, then we can use ls-l command. ls-l command will give you the complete information about the content available in the present working directory. Let me create some other directories also, mkdir 1, 2, 3. So like this, I have created multiple directories here. Then I have executed ls-l command. When you execute ls-l command, it will display the data in the alphabetical order. So if you execute this command, ls-lr, it will display the data in the descending order. In the reverse of alphabetical order, the content will be displayed. ls-l, which is used for long listing the content in the alphabetical order. ls-lr, which is used to display the data in the reverse of alphabetical order. Similarly, we can use ls-lt. When you use lt, time-based, it will display the latest content on the top, old content at the bottom. If you execute ls-ltr, then it will display the old files at the top, then latest files it will display at the bottom. Similarly, if you execute ls-la command, it will display the hidden files also. ls-l, ls-lr, ls-lt, ls-ltr, ls-la. LA command is used to display the hidden files also. So what are the commands that we have used? ls command, which is used to list the content. mkdir, to create a directory nothing but a folder. Then rmdir command, which is used to delete empty directory. Then ls command, which is used for listing the content. -l, long listing with the alphabetical order. ls-lr, reverse of alphabetical order. ls-lt, display the latest files on the top. ls-ltr, old files it will display on the top. ls-la, it is going to display hidden files. What is the meaning of hidden file? Any file which is starting with the dot, we are calling it as a hidden file. Similarly, how to create files in the Linux machine? To create files in the Linux machine, we can use a touch command, touch f1.txt. Then ls-l, f1.txt file is created. So touch command is used to create one empty file, guys. Right? You can create multiple files at a time by using touch command. Touch f2.txt, f3.txt, f4.txt. Then execute ls-l command. Then it is displaying all the content which is available. f1, f2, f3, f4. These files we have created by using this touch command. Once the file is created, how to delete that file? To delete the file, we can use a command called rm command, rm space file name. So ls-l, all the content it is displaying. Now I want to delete a file which is f4.txt, rm f4.txt. Then that file got deleted. Now we have only 3 text files, one file is deleted. Similarly, we can rename the file also. Okay, so if you see the file name is f3 available, I want to make it as f311.txt. I want to rename the file. To rename the file, we can use mv command. mv, present name of the file, which is f3.txt, new name f311.txt. Then execute ls-l. So earlier the file name is f3. Now it got changed to f311.txt. For that we are using mv command. By using this mv, we can rename the files and we can rename the directories also. And we can also use mv command for one more requirement. I want to move the file from one location to another location. Move. So currently this file is available in my present working directory, which is EC2 user directory. So from this location, I want to move this f311.txt file to DevOps directory. So how to move the file? So present, you can check it, ls-l DevOps. In the DevOps directory, currently there is no content available. I want to move the file from present working directory to DevOps directory. For that we can use mv space, what is the file name? That is f311.txt. I want to move that file to the DevOps directory. That's it. Now execute ls-l. Earlier we have 3 files in the present working directory. Now we have only 2 files in the present working directory. That means this f311.txt file is moved to DevOps directory. How to check that file is available in the DevOps directory? ls-l space DevOps. Now inside the DevOps directory, this file is available. So that means we can use mv command to rename the file and it is also used to move the file from one location to another location. So how we created the file in the Linux? We created a file by using touch command. Touch is used to create empty files in the Linux machine. And if you want to delete the files and non-empty directories, then we can use rm command. Rm file name, file will be deleted. Rm start.txt. I want to delete all the text files irrespective of the name. Name can be anything, start.txt. So if you want to delete all the text files which are starting with character A, if any file name is starting with A and if it is text file, then all those files I want to delete. If there is any directory available which contains the data, then we can use rm command to delete that particular directory. And the mv command we are using to rename the files and to move the file from one location to another location. mv present name and new name. mv present location and new location. Fine. So currently the DevOps directory is having the content ls-l space DevOps directory. In that one file is available ls-l. Now let me try to delete it. rmdir DevOps. It is not getting deleted. The reason DevOps directory is not empty. mkdir rmdir. mkdir used to make the directory. rmdir used to remove the directory. But in this scenario, rmdir is not working because this directory is not empty. How to delete this empty directory? rm space DevOps. Okay. So if you use rm space DevOps, is it a directory? It is asking. Then what we need to do? rm space -rf space DevOps. Now forcefully we are going to delete this directory along with the content available in that directory. So rf, r means recursive, f means forcefully. Inside this DevOps directory, whatever the content that is available, that content also we are going to delete along with this command. Are you clear with my point? Good. So we have seen how to create empty files, how to rename the files, and how to move the files from one location to another location. And similarly, here we can use a command called cd command to change the directory. ls-l. Currently we are in the EC2 user directory. Now I want to go inside another directory. Okay. Let me create mkdir Ashok. I created one directory with a name called Ashok. Then go inside that directory, cd space Ashok. cd is a command which is used to change the directory. So currently I am inside the Ashok directory. Inside the Ashok directory, I can create some files. Touch command f1.txt, f2.txt. Okay. Now, if I want to come out from this directory, then I will use cd space ... Okay. Now check the present working directory. Currently, I am in the EC2 user directory. Then cd space Ashok. cd command is used to change the directory. You can go inside the directory or you can come out from the directory also by using this cd command. All right. Next one. How to create a file along with the data. Okay. We used a touch command which is used to create empty files. How to create a file with data? For that we can use cat command. Cat arrow f1.txt. So this arrow is going to represent write operation. Arrow, single arrow, I am writing. Cat arrow f1.txt. It is asking me to enter the data. This is f1 file data. Then press Ctrl D to save the data and close the file. Now I can use the same cat command with the file name to print the data in the file. Cat space file name, which is printing the data in the file. If you want to append the data to the same file, then you can use cat double arrow f1.txt. Remember, when you use single arrow, it will overwrite the old data. Only latest data will be available when you use single arrow. Cat space file name, it is used to print the data available in the file. If you want to append the data to the existing file, then you can use cat double arrow. This is second line. Okay, Control D. Now you can see cat space f1.txt, 2 lines of data is available. Previous line is available and a new line is also available. because we are using this double arrow which will represent data appending. Suppose if I use single arrow with the f1.txt, let me write it. This is third line. Okay, then control D. I'm using single arrow. Let's print the data available in the file. Only this third line is available. The previous two lines data is not available. So this single arrow is going to override the old data. Double arrow is used to append the data. Cat space file name which will print the data available in the file. Okay, now cat double arrow f1.txt 1, 2, 3, something like that. You can write the data. Cat space f1.txt. File data it is printing. I want to print the file data along with the line numbers also. To print the data along with the line number, we can use cat space -n space file name f1.txt. Now the file data will be printed along with the line numbers. I hope you understood what is the purpose of cat command in the Linux. Cat command we can use for 3 requirements, guys. By using cat command, we can create a file with the data by using the single arrow. We can use cat command to append the data to the file by using double arrow. And we can use cat command to print the data available in the file. And we can print the data available in the file along with the line number by using this cat command. And by using this cat command, you can copy one or more files data into another file. So F1 file, F2 files data, I want to copy to the F3 file. That also can be done by using this cat command. When you use cat command, it will print the data from the top to bottom, f1.txt. All the data it is printing from top to bottom. If you want to print the data from bottom to top, then you can use reverse of cat, which is a tag f1.txt, which will print the data from bottom to top. Cat will print from top to bottom and the tag will print from bottom to top. So similarly, we can use rev command, which is used to reverse each line of data. So if you use rev command, which is going to reverse each line of data available in the file. And if you want to copy the data from one file to another file, then you can use cp command, ls-l. F1 file is available, cat f1.txt and cat f2.txt. In the F2 file, there is no data available. Okay, now I want to copy the data from F1 file to F3 file. Then you can see cat f1.txt data is available. Copy this data into new file called F3. There is no new file with the name called F3. Then cp f1.txt space f3.txt. Then we have done this. Okay, ls-l. With the F1, I have created F3. Then go to that file and print the content cat f3.txt. So whatever the data which is available in the F1 is copied to F3. So if you want to copy the data from one file to another file, then you can use cp command. What is the syntax we are using for the cp command? Cp space, what is the file name? That is file 1, and what is the file 2? File 1 data I want to copy to file 2. If file 2 is not available, it will create the file and it will copy. One file data if you want to copy to another file, then cp command. If you want to copy more than one file data to the third file, then you can use this cat command line. Okay, then next one, we can use one command called wc command, which is word count. wc f1.txt. When you execute this command, it will display how many lines available, how many words available, how many characters available in the given file. Number of lines, number of words, number of characters available in the file. For that, we can use wc command. All right, I hope you understood what are the commands that we have used here. So we discussed about ls command to list the content, mkdir to make the directory, rmdir to remove the empty directories, and ls command with several arguments, touch command to create empty files, rm command to delete files and non-empty directories, mv command to rename the files or to move the files from one location to another location, cat command to create file with data or to append the data to the file and to print the file data, cp command to copy the data from one file to another file. We are going to understand how to work with head command, tail command, grep command, and how to use text editors in the Linux machine. All right, let's get started. I connected with my Linux machine. To get the data of the file, we can use head command, head space f1.txt. When you execute head command, it will print the file data from the top. By default, it is going to print only 10 lines. Head command will print first 10 lines of the file, that is the default number. If you don't want only 10 lines, if you want to print the n number of lines of data using head command, then you can use head-n 5 space file name. I want to print only 5 lines of data of this f1.txt. So first 5 lines of data is printed. Similarly, if you use head-n 12, then first 12 lines of data it is printing of that file. Suppose if you don't give anything, head space f1.txt as discussed, by default it will print first 10 lines of the file. So similarly, we can use tail command. What is the purpose of tail command? Tail space file name. Tail command is used to print file content from bottom. Head command will print from top. Tail command will print the data from bottom. Tail command also will print by default last 10 lines. If you want n number of lines from the bottom, tail-n 15 space f1.txt. Then it is going to print the last 15 lines of data. In this file, total 20 lines available. It is printing last 15 lines of data when you go for tail command. Suppose if you use tail command -n with a 5, then it will print only last 5 lines of data. So like this, you can use head command and tail command. What is the purpose of this head command and tail command in the Linux? Head command, tail command, both are used to read the data of the file, but head command will print the data from top, tail command will print the data from bottom. The default number for head and tail 10 only. Okay, good. Next one. We can use a command called grep command in the Linux machine. What is the purpose of grep command? Grep stands for global regular expression print. It is used for searching for the content in the file. For example, I want to search for some data in the file. I want to search for particular keyword in the file. Then we can go for grep command. For example, if you see in this f1.txt, there are 20 lines of data is available. I want to check in which line Java is available in that file, or in which line DevOps is available in that file. I want to search for that. Grep -i, ignore the case sensitiveness. I'm using DevOps space f1.txt. So DevOps keyword is available in the line number 3 in that file. So if you want to search for some content in the file, then you can use grep command. In this grep command, if you don't pass -i, it will search for exact match. In the f1.txt, is there any keyword available with DevOps? Exact match, case sensitive, uppercase characters, lowercase characters should match. Then only it will identify. But so here I have given in the DevOps O as capital, but in the file O available as small. If you don't want to consider that uppercase and lowercase characters, then you can use -i. Then DevOps is available in line number 3. In which line AWS is available, I want to identify. So if you want to search for the content in the file, then you can use grep command. Okay. So here, when you go for grep command, it is going to search for the content in the file. For example, let me take a file with a huge data. For example, I'm going to create one file cat f2.txt. In this f2 file, I'm keeping some content. Okay, let me close this file. Done. So you can use cat command to print the file content. Cat f2.txt. Content is printing. In this f2.txt file, I want to identify which lines contains this keyword called course keyword. Then how can we do that? Grep command -i course space f2.txt. In which lines course is available? Course is available in all these lines. So that is what it is printing. Okay, I want to print this content along with the line numbers. Grep command -n -i. So that means print the data, print the lines along with the line numbers. In the fourth line, course available. In the fifth line, course available. Sixth line, seventh line, ninth, 16th. So these all lines contains a keyword called course keyword. So like this, you can use grep command in order to search for the content available in that file. For example, if you want to execute a grep command with a -v option, let's observe. If you use -v option, then the meaning is print the lines of the f2.txt which does not contain the course keyword. If I use -i, it will print the lines which contains course keyword. Suppose if I use -v, then reverse. Ignore the lines which contains the course keyword and print only the remaining lines. So like this, you can use grep command with several arguments in order to search for the content available in the file. See the syntax. Grep stands for global regular expression print. Grep AWS f1.txt. It will print the lines which are having AWS keyword. -i, ignore the case sensitive. -n, it will print the lines having AWS keyword along with its line number. -v AWS, print lines which does not have the AWS keyword. Okay, suppose if you don't want to give the file name, if you want to search for that keyword in all the files in the present working directory, then you can use a star. Then it will search for the Linux keyword in all the files which are available in the present working directory. Head command will display the data from top to bottom. Tail command will display the data from bottom to top. Grep command, which is used for searching file content. Okay, the next one. I want to edit the files in the Linux units. For example, here I have a file cat f3.txt. Okay, now in this file, some data is available. This is third line, 1, 2, 3 is available. I want to add some new data to the file, or I want to modify. This is third line, it is displaying. There is a mistake. I want to make it as this is first line. So how to edit the file in the Linux? In order to edit the files in the Linux, we can use VI, Visual Editor. VI editor we can use to edit the files in the Linux. VI is the default editor in the Linux machines. By using this VI editor, we can create the new files. We can modify the existing files also. Now, when we go for this VI command with the file name, if the file is already available, then it will open the file. If the file is not available, then it will create the file and it will open the file. Now, let us see VI f3.txt. F3 file is already available, so it opened the file with the existing content. When this VI command we are using to edit the files, this command is going to work based on 3 modes, guys. VI command will have 3 modes. What are those 3 modes available? First one is command mode. When you execute the VI command, it will be in the command mode, that is just to open the file. Once the file is opened, if you want to make some changes to the file, then you need to go to insert mode. So by using by pressing I in the keyboard, we can go into the insert mode. There we can modify the data, we can add the data, we can delete the data. Once our changes got completed, then we need to come out from the insert mode. For that, we need to use escape. Command mode is available, insert mode is available, and escape mode is available. Now observe, currently I am in the command mode. Now press I. Then I am in the insert mode. You can see the bottom, insert is displaying. That means I am in the insert mode. Then I am deleting the first line. I am deleting the first line. 1, 2, 3 is available. Let me add 4. So I have modified this file. After modifying the file, I need to come out from the insert mode. To come out from the insert mode, press escape. After pressing escape, I want to save the changes and I want to close the file. For that, type :WQ, enter. Then file got modified and file got closed. Then cat f3.txt. Now you see earlier f3 file is having this data. Now the f3 file is having this data. So how to save the changes and how to close the file? For that we need to use :wq. Save the changes and close the file by using :wq. How to save the changes with how to close the file without saving the changes: :q0. So like this we can use vi in the Linux machine. Vi is an editor, visual editor, which is the default editor in the Linux machine, which is used to edit the files. Let me do that once again. Observe carefully. File f3 is available, vi f3.txt. That file will be opened in the command mode. Now I want to make the changes. I want to add the new data. Insert mode. In the insert mode, you can add the data in the file. Once we add the data, then I want to save and I want to close it. Then escape, come into escape mode, :wq. Then file got saved. Then print the data f3.txt. Okay, up to 6 it is available. Now let me open again vi f3.txt, insert mode. Then I am writing 7. Right? 7 I am writing. Escape mode, :q0. I want to close it without saving the changes. Q0. 7 should not be there in the file. Then cat f3.txt. Now you can see 7 is not available. Okay. So vi command we are using to edit the files. For example, ls-l. There is no file with a name called f4. vi f4.txt. The file name is new file f4.txt. Then it will create the file and it will open that file. So whenever we use vi command, if the file is already available, it will open that. If the file is not available, then it will create the file and it is going to open that file. And we need to remember the vi command modes: command mode, insert mode, and escape mode. How to save the changes and close the file. How to close the file without saving the changes. I hope you got the clarity how to work with text editor in the Linux machine. So in the last few classes, what we have discussed in the Linux, guys, we discussed about how to create files in the Linux. By using touch command, we can create a file, empty file. By using cat command, you can create a file. By using cp, we can copy one file data into another file. By using vi command, we can create and open the file for the editing. Then how to read the data from the file in the Linux machine. To read the file data in the Linux, we can use a cat command. It will print from top to bottom. We can use a tag command, print the data from bottom to top. Rev command, print each line in the reverse order. Head command, print first 10 lines of the file. Then tail command, print last 10 lines of the file. vi command, which is used to open the file for editing. Then we can use grep command for pattern match. Okay, this is also used for searching the content in the file. What is sed command in the Linux and how to work with sed command? First thing, sed stands for stream editor. Already we have seen visual editor, which is used to edit the files. Then what is the purpose of this stream editor? By using this stream editor command, we can process our file data. Like we can insert some lines in the file, we can delete some lines from the file, and we can replace one word with another word, like substitutions we can perform. And by using this sed command, we can process the file data without opening the file. When you go for vi command, by using that vi, we will open the file and we will edit the file. But here, when you are using sed command, you no need to open the file. Without opening the file, we can perform substitute operation, we can perform delete operation, we can perform print operation, and we can insert the data also. This sed is very powerful command in the Linux operating system. What are the options that we can use with the sed command? We will use below options with the sed command. Yes means substitute. I have one keyword. For example, I have a file with this data. In this file, we are having Linux keyword. I want to replace this keyword with another keyword. For that, we can use yes. Yes means substitute. D means delete. I want to delete second line, or I want to delete the 10th line, something like that. P means print. I want to print 10th line of the file, or I want to print the data from 10th line to till 15th line. I want to insert one line in the middle of the file. All these kind of operations we can easily perform by using this set command. So substitute, delete, print, insert. These operations we can do. Now let me explain with the practicals. So take these 3 lines of data. Let me create a file here, vi os.txt. I'm creating a file with 3 lines of data. Let me delete empty lines. Go to the insert mode, delete the empty lines. Now the file is having 3 lines. Okay, let me save it. So cat os.txt. So the file is having the keyword Linux. If you observe the pattern, in the first line, 1 Linux keyword available. In second line, 2 Linux keywords available. In third line, 3 Linux keywords available. Now I want to replace this Linux keyword with Unix keyword by using sed. Okay, yes means substitute. Wherever Linux is available, I want to replace with Unix in the file os.txt. Substitute Linux keyword with the Unix keyword in os.txt file. So in the first line, 1 keyword, in the second line, 2 keywords available, in third line, 3 keywords available. Let us see what is happening. Okay, so the unterminated s command, fine. Sorry, here we need to use / to terminate that. Now you observe, wherever Linux is available, that is replaced with Unix. But if you observe, first line, Linux replaced with Unix. In the second line, 2 times available, but only first occurrence replaced. In third line, 3 times available, but only first occurrence replaced. That means when you use this command, set command, it is going to replace only first occurrence of Linux keyword with the Unix keyword in every line. Suppose if you want to replace the second occurrence, then you need to use /2. When you use /2, first occurrence not replaced. Okay, in every line, first occurrence not replaced, only second occurrence replaced. Suppose if you want to replace third occurrence, /3 if you give, then third occurrence is replaced. First 2 ignored. Only third occurrence replaced. Sir, I want to replace all the occurrences of the Linux keyword with Unix keyword. Then you need to use /g. If you use g, that means global. It is replacing first occurrence, second occurrence, and third occurrence also replaced. So by using this sed command, you can perform substitute operation. So when I use a substitute operation like this, sed command Linux with Unix, only first occurrence is replaced. If you give /2, then it is going to replace only second occurrence. If you give /3, then it is going to replace only third occurrence. I want to replace all the occurrences. Then you need to give /g. When you give /g, it is going to replace all the occurrences of Linux keyword with a Unix keyword. After replacing, if you check cat os.txt, the original file is modified, the original file is not modified. If you observe, this original file is not modified. When I execute this command, just it is processing the data and it is printing the output on the console, but the original file is not modified. Cat file name, print the content. The original file still contains Linux only. Sir, how to make the changes in the original file also? Then you need to pass one argument called -i. So whatever the substitute operation we are doing, that should reflect in the original file also. Then you can use this -i. Now output is not coming, but if you see original file, wherever Linux keyword is available, all the occurrences replaced with the Unix keyword. So like this, if you want to substitute Linux with Unix and replace that in the original file, then sed command with -i. If you don't use this -i, it will just process the data. It will print the output on the console without making changes to the original file. Are you clear? Sed command yes. Yes means substitute. Similarly, we can perform delete operation also. How to do the delete operation? Now if you see cat os.txt, 3 lines available in the file. I want to delete first line of the file. How to do that? Sed command -i 1d os.txt. -i means reflect the changes in the original file. 1D means first line will be deleted. If you give any number, that particular line will be deleted. Here D means delete. Execute. Now cat file name. Earlier we have what is Linux as a first line, but that line is not available now. We are having only last two lines. The first line is deleted. So if you want to delete any line from the file, you can use line number with D option. 1D, delete the first line. Similarly, if you give 4D, fourth line will be deleted. If you give 4D, fourth line will be deleted. If you want to delete the last line of the file, then $D. If you give $D for the sed command, last line will be deleted. For example, I want to delete the data from the file from third line to till last line. Okay, then 3 comma $D if you give from third line to till the last line, it is going to delete the data. 3 comma $D. If you give 13 comma $D from 13 line to till last line, everything will be deleted. Suppose I want to delete from 10th line to 15th line only. 10 comma 15D. From 10th line to 15th line, those lines only will be deleted from the file. So here S means substitute, D means delete. Similarly, you can perform print operation also. How to perform the print operation? I want to print the data. Suppose if you go for cat command, all the lines will be printed. But I want to print only second line. For example, if I give 2p space os.txt, only second line data will be printed. If you give 10p, 10th line data will be printed. By using S, we are performing substitute. By using D, we are performing delete. By using P, we can perform print operation. 10p, it is going to print only 10th line data. Suppose I want to print the data from second line to fifth line. By using 2 comma 5p, we can print the data from second line to fifth line. So when you go for a head command, it will print only first 10 lines. When you go for a tail command, it will print last 10 lines. When you go for cat command, it will print from starting to ending, from the top to bottom. When you go for a tag command, it will print from bottom to top everything. But I want to print the data from 10th line to 20th line. In that scenario, we can go for this sed command. When you are using print option, you need to pass -n, then only it is going to identify that particular line number and it is going to print the data. Similarly, we can insert the data also in the file without opening the file by using I. Okay, so add the line at end of the file. Okay, now if you see cat os.txt, 2 lines available. I want to insert some data. Sed command -i to I at the end of the file I want to insert. So what I want to insert? Len DevOps. Len DevOps. File name os.txt. Now execute cat os.txt. So as I have given 2i, in the second position, it is inserting this data. 2i means insert the data at the second position. Okay, in the second line, insert at the second line. Earlier we have 2 lines. Second line is having Unix is very famous. Now in the second line, our new data is coming. Suppose if you want to insert the data at the end of the file, instead of 2i, you can use $a. If you use $a, it is going to insert this data at the end of the file. Execute. Now see cat os.txt. So now at the end of the file, this data is inserted. Using this command, we are inserting the data at the end of the file. Using this command, we are inserting the data at the second line of the file. I hope you got the clarity what is sed command and how it is different from VI. Visual editor, stream editor. Visual editor, edit the file and modify the data. By using stream editor, we can perform substitute operation, we can perform delete operation, print operation and insert operation. You can see the commands I have given. Replace, first occurrence, second occurrence, third occurrence, all occurrences. Make the changes in the original file also. 1D, delete first line. 4D, delete fourth line. $D, delete last line. 3 comma $D, delete from third line to last line. Delete from 10th line to 15th line. P, print operation. And how to perform insert? Add the line at the end of the file. I, $a means at the end of the file. If you want to insert the data at the second line, so you can use 2i. Insert at the second line. I hope you got the clarity with the set command. What is user management? How do we work with user management in the Linux? Let us understand this concept carefully. So in the initial classes, we discussed that Linux is a multi-user based operating system. So multiple users can access single Linux machine at a time and can perform multitasking. There is one Linux machine. So if you create user accounts, then those users can connect with the Linux machine at a time and they can perform operations. We created one Linux machine in the AWS cloud. So when we create this Linux machine, by default one user will be available. That username EC2 user. To check that logged in username, we can use a command called who am I. So we connected to this machine with the EC2 user. So when you are launching the Linux machine, we selected our machine AMI as Amazon Linux. So when you go for Amazon Linux, EC2 user is the default user. So when you are using Amazon Linux AMI, EC2 user is the default. Suppose if you use Ubuntu Linux distribution, then Ubuntu user will be available as by default. And for every user, home directory also will be available. So we discussed in the Linux file system, home directory will be available. For every user, one user home directory will be available. So when you create a new user in the Linux machine, for that user, one home directory will be created. Now currently we have EC2 user. So EC2 user having a home directory /home/EC2 user. So when we connect with this machine as a EC2 user, we will go to this location and we can perform any operation in this location. We can play with this directly. You can create the file, delete the file, edit the file, rename the file. You can perform all the operations because you have full rights on that directory because it is your home directory. Suppose if I create one user called John, multi-user operating system na multiple user accounts I will create and those people can access our machine at a time. So when I use John, when I create a user with a name called John, for the John, one home directory will be created /home/John. When we connect with this machine as a John, then we will go to John home directory. If I create one user with a name called Smith, then for Smith also one home directory will be created. So Linux is multi-user based operating system. That means multiple user accounts can be created and those multiple users can connect with this machine at a time. They can perform multitasking. Now we created one Linux machine by using Amazon Linux AMI. When you use Amazon Linux AMI, by default EC2 user will be available, default user. Okay, so this EC2 user is called as default user. When you launch a machine with Ubuntu AMI, then Ubuntu user will be available as a default user. And remember, for every user, one home directory will be available to perform the operations. Okay, now let us see which users are already available in this Linux machine. To display all the users which are available in the Linux machine, there is a etc directory. In that the file contains the information. Cat, let me execute a command called cat command, cat etc password. That means in the Linux machine, etc directory, there is a password file is available. That file contains all the users information. cat/etc/password. So it is going to display all the user accounts which are available, but for all these users, no login. These are some default accounts which are available, but login access is not available for those accounts. Login access is available for only this EC2 user now. EC2 user is default user and this is home directory for the EC2 user. So that's why when we connect with this Linux machine, we are pointing to /home/EC2 user. So how to display all the user accounts available in the Linux machine? By using cat /etc/password, we can display all the users which are available in the Linux machine. Now, how to create one new user in the Linux machine? To create a new user, some admin privileges are required. Okay, sudo. Sudo means super user doing this operation. So sudo user add username John. So when you execute this command, one user will be created with a name called John. Set the password for the John. Sudo password John. I want to set the password for the John account. It is asking password for the John. Give some password and it will ask for confirm password. Yes, let me give the password. Password is updated for the John. How to verify John account is created or not? Cat /etc/password. Now you can see earlier we have only EC2 user with login access. Now we have John user also. For the John user, home directory created /home/John. Now where this home directory, inside the home folder, John folder is created. Now if you execute ls-l/home, so inside the home, EC2 user home directory available, John user home directory also available. As discussed, when we create one user, for that user, home directory also will be created. So how to create a user and how to set the password for the user? Sudo user add command, which is used to create the user. Sudo password command, which is used to set the password for the user. How to display the users? Cat /etc/password command to display users which are created. Now currently I connected with this machine as EC2 user. Now I want to switch to other user account. How to switch from one user account to another user account? By using SU, switch user, SU John. It is asking John account password. Okay, enter the password. Now I connected to this machine as a John user. But here working directory, still it is pointing to EC2 user home directory. I switch it to John account. How to switch the account in the Linux machine? By using SU. SU stands for switch user. When you switch the user account, you need to change your home directory also. How to go to the logged in user home directory? CD space tilde. When you use CD space tilde, CD means change directory. Go to logged in user home directory. CD space tilde. Then I came to John user home directory. So how to switch user account in the Linux machine? By using SU. SU stands for switch user. How to navigate to the current user home directory? Easily we can use CD space tilde. Then we can go to that logged in user current directory. Okay, next one. Suppose if you want to delete one user, John is available now. I want to delete the user account. First, let me see cat /etc/password. So EC2 user available, John user is also available. So let me delete one user. How to delete the user? By using sudo user del, which user account? John, -remove. I want to delete the John user along with the John home directory. -remove, if you specify, John will be deleted, John home directory also will be deleted. Password for the John. Okay, so I'm going to delete that John account. Okay, I am logged in as a John user and I'm trying to delete the John. It is not possible. Let me exit. I came back to EC2 user account. So once I came back to EC2 user account, I can delete it. How to delete? Sudo user del John -remove. John will be deleted. Cat /etc/password. Now John account is not available, only EC2 user account is available. So how to delete one user? By using user del command. which is used to delete the user along with that user home directory. Which is used to delete the user along with the user home directory. I hope you got the clarity. Linux is multi-user based operating system. Multiple users can access our Linux machine at a time and can perform multitasking. So when we create that Linux machine with Amazon Linux, by default, EC2 user account is available. If you create Ubuntu machine, Ubuntu will be available as a default user. For every user, one home directory will be available. So before going to create the users, how to see all the users available in this machine? By using cat etc password. Password is a file, contains user information. That file is available in the etc directory. How to create the user? User add. Sudo user add. Administrator permission. Sudo means super user doing this operation. So EC2 user is a super user. Super user is doing this operation. Sudo user add. Sudo password. So create the user. Set password for the user. And how to switch from one user account to another user account? By using SU. Switch user. So once you switch, you can go to your home directory, cd tilde. Okay, by using this command, you can switch to logged in user home directory. How to delete one user? By using user del. When I delete the user, I want to delete user home directory also. And here in the Linux machine that you need to remember, etc password file contains the user's information. Which users we created, those users information will be available in the file. User passwords will be available in one more file, etc shadow file will be available that contains users passwords in the encrypted format. That contains user passwords in the encrypted format. Okay, now I created the users. So we can create user groups also, guys. In the Linux machine, users can be created, user groups also can be created. I can add the user to the group. So and one more thing that you need to remember here, whenever we create a user in the Linux, by default, for that user, one group also will be created. If I create a user called John, John user account will be created, John group also will be created. If I create one user called Charles, Charles user will be created, Charles group also will be created. So when you create a user in the Linux machine, for that user, one group also will be created with the given username. Username and group name will be same. How to display the user groups available in Linux machine? To display the user groups, cat /etc/group. So that means inside the etc directory, there is a group file available. It will give you all the groups which are available in this machine. So currently for EC2 user, one group. This is EC2 user group name and this is group ID. Now I want to create one more group, guys. How to create a group? Sudo group add space group name. I'm giving the group name as DevOps. So with this one group is created. How to see the groups available? Cat etc group. Earlier we are having EC2 user group. Now we are having DevOps group also. Like this you can create multiple groups in the Linux machine. I'm creating one group with a name called AWS. Cat etc group. So users available and groups also available. Now I want to add user to one group. So EC2 user available. I want to add EC2 user to the group. Okay. Display groups available in the machine. To display the groups available in the machine, cat etc group command we are using. So inside the etc directory, group is the file. In that file, group names available. How to create one group in the Linux machine? Sudo group add command and group name, which is used to create the group in the Linux. How to add one user to the group? EC2 user available. I want to add EC2 user to DevOps group. So to add user to the group, sudo user mode -ag add to group. To which group you want to add and which user you want to add to that group. User mode command. Sudo user mode add to group. To which group you want to add, which user you want to add to this group. Group name, username. Okay. Now let me do this now. First of all, let us see id-ec2 user. EC2 user belongs to how many groups? EC2 user belongs to some groups here. EC2 user belongs to EC2 user group. He belongs to ADM group. He belongs to wheel group. He belongs to systemd general group also. So if you see 1, 2, 3, 4. EC2 user already belongs to 4 groups. Now I want to add EC2 user to DevOps group also. Guys, can you check it here? EC2 user is part of DevOps group as of now. EC2 user not part of the DevOps group as of now. EC2
Is
user
not part of, sir.
not part of the DevOps group. EC2
Is not.
not part of the DevOps group. What is the command to add that? Sudo user mode -ag. What is the group name? DevOps. What is the username? EC2-user. I am adding EC2 user to the DevOps group by using user mode command. Okay. Now check ID EC2 user. What is the purpose of ID EC2 user? To display user information. What is username? What is user ID? And this user belongs to how many groups? ID space EC2 user. Now can you see EC2 user is a part of DevOps group also now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, now EC2 user is part of the DevOps group now. So similarly, you can add users to the group. Now I want to remove the user from the group. So how to add the user to the group? How to remove user from the group? To remove any user from the group, you can use a command sudo gpassword -d. Delete this particular user from this particular group. Okay, gpassword -d, delete this particular user from this group. To add the user, user mode command. To remove the user from the group, gpassword command. Okay, so now let me remove EC2 user from the DevOps group. Currently, EC2 user is a part of the DevOps group. I want to remove. How to do this? Sudo gpassword -d EC2 user. The group name is DevOps. Now I am deleting. Now you can see the message. Removing EC2 user from DevOps group. So by using this command, we can remove user from the group. By using this command, we can add user to the group. And the next one, I want to see in that particular group how many users available. So sudo lid command -g DevOps. So in the DevOps group, which users available? In the DevOps group, no users available. By using this command, you can understand in the given group which users are available. By using this ID username, you can see one user belongs to how many groups. Sudo lid command we are using to display users belongs to particular group. You can create the group, you can add user to the group, you can remove user from the group, and you can display users belongs to particular group. How to check one user belongs to how many groups? ID space username that is used to display that particular user belongs to how many groups, guys. And similarly, you can delete the group also. How to delete the group? To delete the group, we can use sudo group del space group name. DevOps group is available. Now I have deleted that group. How to see all the groups available? cat/etc/group. Now DevOps group deleted, AWS group available, EC2 user group available. So like this you can delete the group also, creating the group and deleting the group. Guys, I hope you got the clarity how to create the users, how to create the groups and how to add the user to the group and how to delete the user from the groups in the Linux machine. I want to create one more user. Sudo user add Ashok. One user is created. How to set the password for the user? Sudo password for Ashok. I'm setting some password. Yes. My account is created and password is also updated for the user. See the users now. cat/etc/password. So there is a user with a name called Ashok. So Ashok user account created, username and password I know. Now I want to connect with this Linux machine as Ashok. Can you tell me how to connect with this Linux machine as Ashok directly?
CD space symbol.
Currently I connected with this machine as a EC2 user.
EC2 user.
Now I want to connect with this machine as a Ashok user. Okay. SU Ashok. What is the meaning of SU?
Switch user.
It will ask for the password. Okay, I'm giving my account password. Then I connected to this machine as a Ashok. Check the who am I. Now I connected to this machine as Ashok. But my present working directory. Am I pointing to my home directory or am I pointing to EC2 user home directory?
EC2 user home directory.
I am pointing to EC2 user home directory. How should I point to my home directory? How should I switch to my home directory now?
CD space ting symbol.
CD space tilde. So by using this, I'm able to switch to my home directory, which is a /home/Ashok. So this is my playground. In my home directory, I can do anything. In my home directory, I can do anything. Okay. How can I exit from my account? Go back to the default user account, that is EC2 user. How can I come out from my account?
Exit.
By using
exit.
So when I exit, I came back to EC2 user account. Now check the username. Who am I? I'm EC2 user. What is my PWD? I'm pointing to EC2 user home directory. From EC2 user home directory, if I press exit, then what will happen? I logged out from this machine. I lost connection with this Linux machine. I came back to my Windows machine path. From which location I opened this git bash, I came back to that location. Again, if I want to connect with this Linux machine, SSH command. This is my PEM file. I want to connect with this machine as the EC2 user, and this is the address of that machine, host address. With this command, I connected back to this Linux machine as the EC2 user. Now Ashok account is available, EC2 user account available. So now two people can connect with the same machine and they can perform the operation. Multiple users can access Linux machine at a time because Linux is multi-user based operating system. Now I'm going to give you one task. I created one user account in this Linux machine. Already one user account available EC2 user. Do you know password for the EC2 user, guys? We don't know password for the EC2 user. So that's why when we want to connect with this Linux machine, we are using PEM file. Okay, we are using PEM file to connect with this Linux machine. But here for my account, Ashok account is created now. So my account is available. This is my account username and my account password is also available. Now, how to connect with this Linux machine using my account username and password. So my account is created. I know for EC2 user, I don't know password. So that's why I am using PEM file to connect with EC2 machine. But for my account, I know my username and I know my password. How to connect with the Linux machine with the username and password now? That is the question. How to enable password-based authentication in the Linux machine? We are using Amazon Linux machine. By default, with the PEM file only, we can connect with this machine. But now I want to create one new user and I want to connect with this user. So in order to do this password-based authentication, we need to deal with the two files here, guys. So to connect with Linux VM using our own user account, for example, Ashok IT account, we need to enable password based authentication in the Linux machine. By default, password based authentication is disabled in the Linux machine. So if you want that feature, you need to enable that. How to enable in the Linux machine? We need to modify configuration files. In the Linux OS, we are having some configuration files, guys. By modifying those configuration files, we can enable password based authentication. What are those configuration files? First one is sudo file. Second one is sshd config file. Now let us understand what is sudo file in the Linux. Sudo file is very important configuration file in the Linux machine, guys. What is sudo file? It is very important file in the Linux machine. By using this file, we can control which user can run the command as a super user. That means for which user you want to provide admin privileges. For which user you want to provide the admin privileges that can be configured in the sudo file. Using this file, we can control which user can run the command as a super user, nothing but sudo user. So where that file is available, first see the content of that file. Sudo cat etc slash sudo file. So this is the path of that file. So in this file, we can see which user can run the command as a sudo user. So if you see, allow the root user to run any command anywhere. So by default, for the root user, all the privileges are available. Okay, now I want to create one user and I want to configure that user as a sudo user. So first let me create a user now. Sudo user add Ashok IT. Then set the password for the user. Sudo password for Ashok IT. I'm giving some password as Ashok IT @123 and confirming that password Ashok IT @123. So password is updated for my user. Now I want to make Ashok IT user as a sudo user. How can I make Ashok IT as a sudo user? To give the sudo privileges for the Ashok IT user, I need to configure that user in the sudo file. How to configure the user in the sudo file? Sudo vi sudo is the command. If you use a command called sudo vi sudo, it is going to open sudo file. Go down. Here, root user is available now. Just below the root user, I'm going to configure our user also. Our user name is Ashok IT. Whatever the privileges available for the root user, all those privileges I am giving for the Ashok IT user also. That means I am making Ashok IT user as a sudo user by using sudo file. Then control X, Y, enter. So how to save that file? In order to save that file, we are using control plus X plus enter. Then file will be saved. So this command, which is used to print the content of the sudo file. This command is used to edit the sudo file. Add the below line under the root user, your username. After making changes, after making the changes, to close the sudo file, we need to execute control plus X plus Y plus enter. So if you execute these keys in the keyboard, then sudo file will be closed. So with this, we have given sudo privileges for the Ashok IT user. Are you guys able to understand? Are you guys able to understand what is the sudo file in the Linux? Guys, come on. What is the sudo file in the Linux? Sudo file.
Configuration file in Linux.
Sudo file is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. Using this file, we can control which user can run the command as a super user. Using this file, we can control which user can run the command as a super user. How to see the content of this file? Sudo cat file name. Sudo cat file name. It is used to print sudo file data. How to edit that file? Sudo vi sudo, which is used to open the sudo file. then add this line, then use this command to save that file. Okay, fine. Next one, how to enable password based authentication for users in the Linux. Okay, this is very important point here. How to enable password based authentication for users in Linux VM. So in the Linux machine, whenever we create Linux machine in the AWS cloud, by default we got EC2 user. For the EC2 user, do we know the password or we don't know the password for the EC2 user, guys?
We don't know, sir.
Do we know the password for the EC2 user or we don't know password for the EC2 user? We don't know password for the EC2 user. But for Ashok IT user, we know the password. For Ashok IT user, we know the password. So now, how to connect with this machine with the Ashok IT user account with the username and password? For this, we need to enable password-based authentication in the Linux machine. So how to enable password-based authentication for users in the Linux machine? In the Linux machine, by default, password authentication is no. If we want to connect with the Linux machine by using your account username and password, then we need to set that password authentication value as yes. Where we need to set this value, in which file this is by default no, and how to make it as yes. For that, we are going to see the file called sshd config file. In the Linux machine, there is a file called sshd config file is available. In that file, the default configuration password authentication is no. First, let me show you that file content first. That file is available inside the etc directory sudo cat /etc/sshd underscore config. So this is the path of that file. I want to print the content of that file by using cat command. So when you see the content of that file, you can find one option, password authentication. Can you see here what is the default value? Password authentication, no is available. Because of this setting, we are not able to connect with the machine by using our username and password. Now I want to edit this file and I want to set this as yes, guys. So how to edit a file in the Linux? By using vi command. So let me use sudo vi. Cat means it is printing the content. Now I want to edit the file. Vi command. Go to insert mode, then find out that option, password authentication. It is available as no. Change this value to yes, guys. Then save this file, escape:/wq. Now I have updated that file. Now see the cat command again. Now go and check that option. Earlier it was password authentication as no. Now I made the password authentication as yes. When you make the changes to this SSHD config file, we need to restart the SSHD service. How to restart that service? Sudo systemctl restart SSHD. So with this, that SSHD service got restarted. Now I want to connect with this machine as Ashok IT user. As of now, I am using this machine as a EC2 user. Now I will exit from here. Now I want to connect with this machine as a Ashok IT user. Ashok IT user is already configured in the sudoers file. He can perform admin activities also. Now I know my account username and password also. Okay. Now how to connect with this Ashok IT user account using username and password? Very simple. We enabled password based authentication, right? So we just need to use the command ssh space username, which is Ashok IT @public IP address of this machine. So from the AWS, we can select the machine which is in the running state, take its public IP address and use this ssh username @public IP. Am I using the PEM file to connect with this machine? No. SSH command I am using to connect with the Linux machine with Ashok IT username, and this is public IP address of this machine. Then it is going to ask, are you sure you want to connect? Yes, boss. What is your account password? ashokit@123. Now, successfully, I'm able to connect with this machine as a Ashokit user. Now go here and check who am I. I logged in into this machine as Ashokit user. What is my present working directory? My home directory /home/Ashokit. Now I can perform any operation in this home directory. I logged in into this machine as a Ashokit user. I can create the files. I can edit the files, I can rename the files, I can delete the files. I hope you got the clarity how to enable password based authentication for users in the Linux machine and how to connect with the user, how to connect with the Linux machine with our username and password. How to work with file permissions in the Linux operating system. Very important topic. So please understand this topic very carefully. So if we see Linux machine is multi-user based operating system machine. So in one Linux machine, we can create multiple user accounts and those users can connect with the Linux machine at a time and they can perform multitasking. Suppose here I'm taking 4 users in the Linux machine, 4 user accounts available in the Linux machine, Rani, John, Raj, Ashok. For every user, one home directory will be available. This is user home directory. When we connect with the Linux machine, by default, we will go to our home directory. Now assume that as a Ashok user, I connected with this Linux machine and in this home directory, I created some files, guys. In my home directory, I created some files, very important files, configuration files I created in my home directory. Now, other users who are connecting to the same Linux machine should not be able to see the data available in my file. They should not be able to edit my file. They should not be able to change the data available in my file. And if it is a shell script program, they should not be able to execute my script also. I want to protect the data available in my file. Other users should not be able to read the data available in the file. They should not be able to modify the data available in my files. They should not be able to execute my files also. But all users are having accounts in the machine. They can connect with the machine. Even though they are connecting to this machine, they should not be able to touch my files because my files are very important. Okay, how we can protect the data available in our files, especially when you are working with multi-user based operating systems. So that's where in order to protect our data, in order to protect our files in the Linux, there is a concept called file permissions concept. Using file permissions, we can secure our files and we can protect the data which is available in our files also. I don't want other users to access my files. So how can we do that? So in the Linux, mainly we are having 3 types of permissions, guys. What are those 3 permissions? One is read permission. Character R will represent read permission. Character W will represent write permission. Character X will represent execute permission. So if you want others to access the data, if you want others to see the data, then you can give read permission. If you want allow them to edit also, then you can give write permission. If your file is a scripting file, if you want to allow them to execute your file, then execute permission. R means read permission, W means write permission, X means execute permission. And here these permissions will be represented with 9 characters, guys. In the Linux machine, for a file or for a directory, the permissions will be represented like below. So RWX, 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 then file name will be available. Sir, why these many RWX characters are available? So the file permissions contains 9 characters here, guys. File permissions contains 9 characters and those 9 characters are divided into 3 parts. So the first 3 characters, so in these 9 characters, first 3 characters will represent User permissions. User nothing but the user who created this file, owner. The first three characters will represent what permissions the user having on the file. User nothing but the person who created this file. And the middle three characters will represent the owner group is having what permissions on this file. First three user permissions. Next middle three characters group permissions. Last three characters will represent what others are having, what permissions other users are having on this file. So Ashok created this file. Ashok is owner and Ashok owner group available. What permissions available for Raju, John, Rani on that file will be represented by last three characters. So I repeat once again. So in the Linux file permissions are three types: read permissions, write permission, execute permission. So total 9 characters will be available to represent file permission. Who is having which permission? In these 9 characters, first 3 characters will represent the owner user permissions on the file. Middle 3 characters will represent group permissions, owner group permissions on that file. Last 3 characters will represent what permissions other users are having on that file. In the same Linux machine, other users available. I created this file as a Ashok. What permissions other users having on my file will be represented by last 3 characters, guys. Okay, now let us understand the file permissions with different scenarios now. I will take some scenarios and I will explain who is having what permissions on this file. So if I take the scenario 1, rw hyphen r double hyphen r hyphen hyphen is available. So first 3 characters will represent user permissions, that is owner. Middle 3 characters will represent group permissions. Last 3 characters will represent other permissions. rwx, rwx, rwx. When the hyphen is available in the position, that means that permission is missing. So if you observe first 3 characters rwi, user is having rw hyphen, x is missing. That means user is having only read and write permission. User don't have execute permission. Hyphen represents that permission is missing. And if you see middle 3 characters group, owner group, that group is having r hyphen hyphen. So that means r hyphen hyphen means only read permission is available, write permission, execute permission missing for the group. And the next r minus minus available. R minus minus last 3 characters, other users, others permission. Others also having only r hyphen hyphen, that means they have only read permission. So if you have permission like this for the F1, user having read plus write, group is having only read, others also having only read permission. We are trying to understand the permissions. Later we will change the permissions also. And if I am taking scenario 2, now can you tell me who is having which permission on this file now? What permission is available for user? What permission available for group? Okay, and what permission is available for others on the f1.txt. First 3 belongs to user. User is having rwx. That means user is having read permission, write permission plus execute. User is having all the 3 permissions, guys. Group r hyphen x, w is missing. Middle 3 characters represents group. Group permissions r hyphen x. We have read permission plus execute permission for the group. Middle w is missing. Hyphen in place of w, hyphen is available. That means read plus execute. Others also having read plus execute only. So read hyphen x, r hyphen x, w is missing. So for others also read plus execute permission only available. Now I'm giving the third scenario. Can you tell me who is having which permissions on this file now? Third scenario, can you guys tell me who is having which permission now? First three characters belongs to user permission. User having RWX. So RWX in the sense read plus write plus execute. Again user having all three read plus write plus execute permission available for the user. Then group, what permissions available for the group? Middle three characters. Group is having -x, read missing, write missing. So only execute permission available for the group. Others are having R-x. So that means read plus execute is available for others. So you need to understand file permissions like this. You need to understand file permissions like this. Okay, good question. Now how to change these file permissions? Now how to change these file permissions? In order to add the permission or remove the permission, basically in order to change file permissions in the Linux, we will have one command called chmod command. To change the file permissions, to add or remove the permission, we will use one command called chmod command. When we are using chmod command, plus represents adding. Okay, minus represents removing. Either you can add the permission or you can remove the permission also. Plus means adding the permission, minus means removing the permission. I'm connecting to this machine as Ashok IT user now. So once we connected to this machine, you can check ls-l. There is a file f1.txt. We created one file. So first hyphen, that is type of the file. If you make a directory mkdir like AWS. Now ls-l. The first line you need to ignore D. D means it is a directory. And here if it is starting with hyphen, that means it is a ordinary file. So you need to consider these 9 characters only. First character you need to ignore, that represents type of the file. D means directory file. Hyphen means ordinary file. Okay, here these are the 9 characters. User having read write, group is having only read, others also having only read. You need to see these 9 characters for the file permission. Now I want to give execute permission for user. User does not have execute permission. How to give execute permission for the user? We can use a command chmod u plus x. For user, add execute permission. On which file? f1.txt. U means user, plus means add, x means execute. For user, I'm adding execute permission. Before this, you can check user having only read write. Now I am giving chmod u plus x. Chmod command is used to change the permission. U plus x, add execute permission for the user. Now you can check ls-l. So we are able to add execute permission for the user. Now give write permission for the group. Group is having only read. Now you can check ls-l. And the f1 file, group is having only read. Others also having only read. Let me give write permission for the group. chmod for the group write permission. Okay, G plus W for group write permission on f1.txt. Now check this. For the group I have given write permission. Now for others who only read available, give the execute permission for others. O plus X guys. chmod for others, execute permission. O plus X. Now you can check others got the execute permission. Suppose I want to remove the permission. Same chmod command minus we are going to use to remove the permission. How to do this? chmod O minus R f1.txt. Others having read and execute. O minus R. For others, remove read permission. Okay. Now you check it. ls-l. Others having, earlier others having read and execute. Now others having only execute because I have removed read permission for the others. we can do multiple, you can add multiple permissions at a time. chmod o plus rwx. Read, write, execute for others at a time. I have given all permissions for the others. chmod o plus rwx. For others, all permissions I have given. I can remove multiple permissions at a time. Either we can add and we can remove multiple permissions. O minus rwx f1.txt. For others, I have removed all permissions on the file. Now user having read write execute, group is having read write, others don't have any permission on the file. I hope you got the clarity how to deal with the file permissions in the Linux. So to deal with the file permissions, we need to understand RWX characters and its purpose. Then 9 characters will be available. First 3 characters represents user permissions. Middle 3 characters will represent group permissions. Last 3 characters will represent other user permissions. Okay. So to add the permission or to remove the permission, chmod command. Plus means adding, minus means removing. So how to give execute permission for user u plus x. If you use a command u plus x, adding execute permission for the user. How to give write permission for the group, we have done g plus w. Okay. So if you give g plus w for the group, write permission is added. G plus w. How to remove the execute permission for others, O minus X. If you use O minus X for others, execute permission will be removed. How to give all permissions for the group, G plus RWX. At a time, for group we have given all permissions. How to remove all permissions for others, O minus RWX. So at a time we are removing all permissions. I hope it is clear. Now, when I create some files in my home directory, can I protect my files from other users? I don't want them to read my file. I don't want them to write the data to my file. I don't want them to execute also. For group, I can remove all permissions. For others also, I can remove all permissions. Then they can't see the data which is available in my file. They can't read, they can't write, they can't execute. So like this, if you want to protect your files in the Linux machine, so you can do that by using file permissions concept. So remember the command chmod, which is used to change the file permissions. So as of now, we are using alphabets to deal with the file permissions. We can represent file permissions in the numeric format also, guys. Instead of RWX characters, you can represent the file permissions in the numeric format also. How to represent file permissions in the numeric format? So when we are talking about numeric permissions, the digits are very important. If 0 represents no permission. If you use 0, that means no permission. 1 represents execute permission. Okay, execute X. Instead of X, you can use 1 also. X means execute. Here in the numeric, 1 means execute. Now, W means write. Here 2 means write. 0 means no permission, 1 means execute permission, 2 means write permission. When I say 3, 3 means it is 2 plus 1. 2 permission plus 1 permission. What is the meaning of that? That is write plus execute. So digit 3 represents write plus execute permission. And when you go for 4, 4 represents read permission. Okay. And when you say 5, 5 represents 4 plus 1. 5 represents 4 plus 1. What is the meaning of 4? 4 means read, 1 means execute. 5 means read plus execute. 3 means write plus execute. And when it comes to 6, the digit 6 represents 4 plus 2. The digit 6 represents 4 plus 2. That means 4 is what? Read. 2 means what? Write. 6 means read plus write. And when it comes to the 7, 7 represents 6 plus 1. All permissions will be available for the 7. 6 means read plus write. 1 means execute. So 7 is equal to RWX, which is read plus write plus execute. So you can manage file permissions in the numeric format as well as in the alphabet format also. Coming to the alphabet, RWX, read, write, execute. Coming to the numeric format, 0 means no permission, 1 means execute permission, 2 means write permission, 3 means 2 plus 1, that is write plus execute, 4 means read permission, 5 means 4 plus 1, that means read plus execute, 6 means 4 plus 2, that is read plus write, 7 means 6 plus 1, that is read plus write plus execute. Now if you see, when I write a command chmod 111 f1.txt, first digit represents user permissions, second digit represents group permission, third digit will represent others permission. So when I say 111 for user execute permission, one means execute, right? For user execute permission, for group also execute permission, for others also execute permission. Okay, now execute this command. Clear ls-l f1.txt. Now chmod 111. So when I say 111, first one represents user permissions, second one represents group permission, last one represents others permission on the f1.txt. Now see this ls-l. User is having execute permission, group is having execute permission, others also having execute permission. 111 for user, for group, for others. Now when I say chmod 222 f1.txt, what is the meaning of 222? What is the meaning of 2? 2 means write permission. So when I say chmod 222 for user permission 2, for group permission 2, for others permission 2, f1.txt. User, group, others will have only write permission on the file. 1 means execute, 2 means write, 3 means write plus execute. Now see, user having write permission, group is having write permission, others also having write permission. Suppose if I give chmod 777, what is the meaning of 7? 7 means all three, read, write, execute. 777 f1.txt. So first 7 represents user, second 7 represents group, third 7 represent others. For everyone, I'm giving all the permissions. So user is having read, write, execute, group is having read, write, execute, others also having read, write, execute. Suppose if I give chmod 000 f1.txt, 0 means no permission. Nobody is having any permission on the file. All iPhones. No permission is available on the file. I hope you got the clarity. How to deal with the file permissions? By using chmod command. So chmod 777 f1.txt. For everybody, all the permissions I am giving. User having all three, group having all three, others also having all three. And remember one point. When I go for chmod single 7, not 777, I'm using only 17. When you use 17, it will consider as 007. So when you write only one digit, it will consider first 2 digits as zeros. That will consider as 007. When it is considering 007, that means what will happen? If you write only 17, that is equal to 007 f1.txt. So that means for user no permissions, for group no permissions, only for others all permissions will come. So now see here, chmod only single 7 I have used. For user no permission because of 0. For group no permission because of 0. For others all 3 permissions. Suppose if I write 77, chmod 77 f1.txt. So the first digit is missing now. That will prefix with 0. For user no permission. For group all permissions. For others also all permissions will come. I hope you got the clarity. How to deal with the file permissions in the numeric format as well as in the alphabet format. How to work with networking commands in the Linux machine. So the first one is ping command. What is the purpose of the ping command? Ping command is used to check the connectivity with the other server. Whether my machine is able to connect with the other server or not. If I want to test that connection, then I can go for ping command. For example, I want to see whether my machine is able to connect with Google or not. Ping www.google.com. So if you are getting the response like this, that means our machine is able to ping Google, our machine is able to connect with the Google. Okay, ping www.google.com. Similarly, you can check www.facebook.com. Yes, so sorry, ping www.facebook.com. So I want to check whether my machine is able to connect with facebook.com or not. Yes, you can see I'm getting some response from that facebook.com. That means my machine is able to connect with that. For example, if I give some server ping 192.168 dot some 0.1. So if I do the ping, I have given some IP address to ping, but I'm not getting any response. That means ping is failed. So this server is not available. This server is not available, or the server is not in the running state. When I press Ctrl C, I'm getting 100% packet loss. That means the connection is failed. But when I ping the facebook.com, I'm getting the response continuously. How to stop this response? Ctrl C. That command will be terminated. When I ping with this IP, I got 100% packet loss. That means connection is failed. When I ping facebook.com, I'm getting 0% packet loss. That means the connection is successful. So what is ping command? It is used to check the connectivity. So you can ping Google, Facebook, or any machine or any IP that you can check by using this ping command. Next one, there is another command called wget command is available. So what is this wget command? It is used to download the files from the internet. So I have some file in the internet I want to download. When we are using Windows machine, how we are going to download the files in the Windows machine? For example, so if you go to Windows machine, I want to download Tomcat server. Simply download Tomcat server in the browser. Then you can visit that official website and you can click on zip file. Then the Tomcat server will be downloaded in our system. Same thing can I do in the Linux machine? No, because I'm using CLI based Linux machine. So currently I don't have any file here. Tomcat server is not available in my system. How to download this Tomcat server zip file in this Linux machine? That's where we are going to use a command called wget command. It is used to download files from the internet. So go to here, copy the link address, zip file. Just if you click on the zip, file will be downloaded. If you want to copy that zip file location, right click on the zip, copy link address and go to Linux machine, wget the file path. In the internet that file is available, give the file path. Now that file is downloaded in my Linux machine. By using this wget command, you can download the files from the internet. Now you can check ls-l. So earlier I'm having only text file. Now I am having this zip file also. How can we extract that zip file in the Linux machine? To extract that zip file in the Linux machine, we can use unzip command. That zip file will be extracted. Now we are able to download Apache Tomcat web server as a zip file and we are able to extract that zip also by using unzip command. So what is the purpose of wget? It is used to download files from internet. And another command is available, that is curl command. What is the purpose of this curl command? It is used to send HTTP request to the URL. For example, I have some URL. I want to access that URL. In the Windows machine, how we are going to access? We will go to browser and in the browser we will open Chrome and we are going to send the request to this URL by using this address bar. Then I'm getting some response. I'm sending a HTTP request to the server and I'm getting some response. How to do this operation in the Linux machine? To do that operation in the Linux machine, there is a command called curl command. So curl space to which URL you want to send the request. Give that URL. So when I send the request by using this curl command, I'm able to get the response here. So to send the HTTP request in the Windows, we have browser. If you want to send the HTTP request in the Linux machine, then we are going to use this curl command. Okay. And the next one more command is available, that is called ifconfig. What is the purpose of this command? It is used to get IP address of our machine. Currently I am using this Linux machine. I want to check IP address of this machine, ifconfig. So it is going to tell what is the IP address of your machine. So these commands we are going to call as networking commands in the Linux. Ping command, which is used to check the connectivity. wget command, it is used to download files from internet. wget space the URL of the file. I have downloaded Tomcat server. Curl command, it is used to send HTTP request to the URL. So curl command, which URL you want to send the request, give that. ifconfig to get the IP address of our machine. Let's understand what is package manager in the Linux and how to work with package managers. First of all, what is a package? Package means a software. For example, I want to install Git client software, Java software, Maven software, Python software. All these softwares we can consider as packages in the Linux. In order to manage these packages in the Linux operating system, we are going to use package managers. For example, if you are using Windows machine, directly you can go to the Google and you can type Git client download. Then you can go to Git downloads page. If you click on this download for Windows, Git client software will be downloaded. You can double click and you can install. But here we are using Linux virtual machine, which is having CLI. So we can't open Google, we can't download the Git client, we can't install directly in the Linux machine. That's why in the Linux, in order to deal with the software's installation, there is a concept called package managers. Package means a software. In order to install, uninstall such kind of softwares in the Linux machine, we are going to use a concept called package managers. In the Linux, we are having multiple package managers, guys. Those package managers are specific to Linux distribution. Suppose if you are using Amazon Linux machine or Red Hat Linux machine, then you can use yum as a package manager. If you are using Debian based Linux machines like Ubuntu, then you can use apt as a package manager. For Amazon Linux machines, for Red Hat machines, for CentOS machines, you can use yum as a package manager. For Ubuntu machines, Debian based Linux machines, you can use apt as a package manager. Okay, now let us see. In this machine, let us verify Git software is available or not. You can see it is saying that Git command is not found in this machine. So Git client is not available. Now I want to install Git client software in this machine. How to do that? Sudo super user doing this operation yum install git. So yum is a package manager. I'm telling to the package manager to install Git client software in this machine. So when you click enter, it is going to install and it will ask for confirmation. Are you okay to install this? Yes, I'm okay to install this. Then it is going to download and install Git client software in this machine. Now you can verify Git version. Earlier when we execute Git version, we got command not found. Now when I execute, it is showing the Git version that is installed in our system. Similarly, if you want to check where this Git is installed, there is a command called where is Git. So in this machine, Git software installed in this location. So where is Git? In which location? What is the path the Git software installed in this Linux machine? Now let me check Java also. Java space -version. Is Java available in this machine? No, command not found. Java is not available. How to install Java? Sudo yum install Java. When I use package name as Java, it is going to install latest version of the Java. Suppose if you want to install particular version of the Java also, you can specify OpenJDK 1.8 or 11 or 17, whatever. I'm going with latest version. Sudo yum install Java -y. If you don't give this -y, in the middle, it is going to ask yes or no. If I give -y, that means by default I'm giving as yes. No need to ask for my confirmation to install the Java. blindly you go and install Java software. That is the meaning of -y. It represents yes for confirmation. Good. Now it is trying to download and install Java software. The latest version of the Java, it is installing Java 24. You can install particular version of the Java also by specifying that version package name. For every version, one name will be available. So here I used yum install Java. So latest version install. Now check the Java version. Earlier it was saying Java not available. Now see Java version OpenJDK 24 version got installed. In which location this Java got installed? You can check where is Java. So Java software installed in this location. Similarly, you can check for Maven also. MVN version. Is a Maven available? No. Maven software is not available. How to install Maven? Same process. Sudo yum install Maven-y. So with this, it is going to install Maven software in our machine. Good. Maven version got installed. Now you can verify MVN version is Maven is available or not. Yes, Maven software installed. Apache Maven 3.8.4 installed. Where this Maven is installed? Where is MVN? So by default, all these softwares are installing under bin directory. USR bin directory. Inside that, this Maven software also installed. So with this, we understood how to install a package in the Linux machine. So by using this command, I'm checking which version of the Git is available in this machine. By using this command sudo yum install git -y. -y means yes, Git software is installed. We are checking in which location Git software is installed, where is Git, and I have seen where the Java is available, which version of Java is available. First time it was not available, so I installed Java software. Then I verified where this Java software is available. So similarly, we can check Maven version and we are able to install the Maven software also. I hope you understood what is package manager in the Linux. It is used to manage packages in the Linux machine. Using these package managers, you can install and you can uninstall the softwares also. Good. Now let us see how to set up one web server in the Linux machine. How to set up a web server in the Linux machine and how to host one static website in the Linux machine. First of all, what is a web server? Web server is a software which is used to run the websites or which is used to run the web application. If you want to run a web application, then we need a web server. So first of all, what is the meaning of a website? Website means collection of web pages. So if you take an example, if you go to our website ashokid.in, here you can see there are several web pages available. Contact us page available, about us page available, placement training, training schedule, login page, registration page, like this multiple pages available. So the collection of these web pages we will call as one website. So when you hit the URL in the browser, you are able to access our website. So where is this website running? This website is running inside a web server. What is web server? Web server is a software which is used to run the websites. Website means collection of web pages. So in a web page, the pages will be available like this. Login page is available, registration page available, dashboard page, about us, contact us, etc. Now, so generally these websites we can divide into two types, guys. Websites are divided into two types. What are those two types? One is called as static website. The website which is going to provide the same response for every user, that website is called as a static website. And the website which will provide the response based on the logged in user, that website is called as a dynamic website. Static websites will provide same content for every user. Dynamic websites will provide content based on the logged in user. The website which gives same response for every user is called static website. For example, our news channel websites, enadu.com, enadu.net, such kind of Times of India, those websites will give same response for every user. Those websites are called as static website. And the website which gives a response based on the logged in user, that website is called as dynamic website. For example, gmail.com and amazon.com. When I log in into Gmail, only my emails will display. When I log in into amazon.com, only my orders will display. If you log in into Amazon, your orders will display. So if you log in into Facebook, your friends related posts will be displayed for you. The website which gives response based on the logged in user, that website is called as dynamic website. The website which gives the same response for every user, that website is called as static website. So now I'm going to show you how to install a web server in the Linux machine which is used to run static website, right? So we discussed already what is static website, same response for every user. So in order to run static websites, we need one web server, the example HTTPD. I'm going to use HTTPD as a web server. Suppose if you want to run dynamic websites, then we are going to use Tomcat server, IIS server, JBoss, WebLogic, WebSphere. These are the servers available in the market to run the dynamic websites. If you want to run a static website, then you can go for HTTPD. You can install this HTTPD server in the Linux machine by using package manager. Sudo yum install httpd-y. So it is used to install httpd web server in the Linux machine. Then to check the status of that server, whether that server is running or the server is stopped, you can use sudo service httpd status command. With this you can check the status of the server. So whenever you install first time, that will be in the inactive state. How to run that server? httpd start. Sudo service httpd start. By using this first command, we are going to install the web server. By using this second command, we are going to verify what is the current status of the server. By using this third command, we are going to start the server. Let me execute these commands here. I got disconnected from the Linux machine. Let me connect back by using SSH command. Yes, I connected back to this machine. Now let me install this web server by using package manager. Sudo yum install httpd-y. So it is going to install that web server. Once this server got installed, let me verify what is the status of the server. Sudo service httpd status. Yes, currently what is the status of this server? This server status currently coming as inactive. Okay, now how to start this server? Sudo service httpd start. With this, that server is started. Then you can check the status again. Earlier the status was inactive, now the status is active. This server is running. So this httpd web server we have installed and we have started this server. This web server is going to run on the port number 80. So HTTP web server runs on HTTPD web server runs on HTTP protocol with 80 port number. Now, if you want to access this web server in our Windows machine, we need to enable that port number in the security group inbound rules. So to access our web server in the browser, then we need to enable that server port number in the EC2 machine security group inbound rules. How to enable that? Go to this Linux machine, go to security tab of this Linux machine. This is our Linux virtual machine running in the AWS cloud. So select the machine, go to security tab. For this machine, we attached one security group at the time of creating the machine. Click on this, go to inbound rules, edit inbound rules. Already SSH protocol enabled with 22. Because of this SSH protocol only, we are able to connect with this Linux machine. Now I want to enable HTTP protocol. Click on add rule, select HTTP, that will run on the port number 80. Allow the traffic anywhere IPv4. Any request comes to this machine with the HTTP protocol, I want to allow the traffic. I'm giving this information to AWS EC2 machine to allow the request which is coming from anywhere with the HTTP protocol. So I'm changing security group inbound rules. One new rule I'm adding. Click on save rule. With this we enable. Then go to this machine and access this machine public IP. So this is running on the HTTP protocol with 80 port number. Copy the public IP, go to browser and access. Yes. Now when I hit that public IP, so in the public IP, if you specify 80 or if you don't specify 80, by default, every request is a HTTP request in the browser. So that's why even if you specify :80 port number also, it will remove that, because by default, every request is a HTTP request. So when I hit this URL, I'm getting the message as it works. That means we are able to install HTTPD web server successfully in our Linux machine, and we are able to access. So with this HTTPD web server, we can host our website also. Currently we are getting default message. I don't like this default message. I want to keep my message. So to keep the content of your website, to keep the static website content, you can go to this location in the Linux machine. This is the default location for static websites in the Linux machine. In that machine, you go to that location and you create a file with a name called index.html. That is our website file. Now let me go to that location here. cd space where www.html. Currently in this location there is no file available. But sir, how this message is coming? This is the default message coming from the web server. If you want to change that message, you create a file with a name called index.html. Sudo vi index.html. Sudo means super user doing this operation. Okay, file is open. Go to insert mode. Then you can type some message, whatever you want. Welcome to Ashok. Good. Save this file and close it. Done. Now go to browser and refresh. Now you can see the message is coming from our index.html. Now if you have multiple files for your website like login page, registration page, all those files you can keep in this location, that is where www/html. So this is the default location in order to host our static websites in the Linux machine. How we are accessing our website? We can access our website by using EC2 machine public IP. I hope you understood how to host one static website in the Linux machine by using HTTPD web server. Good. So we discussed what is package manager, how to manage the packages in the Linux machine. Currently we are using Amazon Linux. That's why I'm using M package manager. If you go for Ubuntu machine, then we will go for apt package manager. And what is web server? It is required to run the websites. So we installed HTTPD web server and we hosted our static website. Good. So if you want to get these notes, please comment on this video as Linux, then I will share it with you directly. Hi guys, in this video, we are going to understand important interview questions from Linux operating system. The first question, what is the difference between Unix OS and Linux OS? Linux is a free operating system that is community based, whereas Unix is proprietary operating system. We need to purchase the license of Unix operating system. Question number 2, how do you find out a process running on particular port number? For example, I want to identify which process is running by using 8080 port number. Okay, if you execute this command, it will tell you which process is running on 8080 port number. Currently, no process running on port number 8080. If I change to 80 port number, HTTP protocol, currently there is no process running on the 80 port number. If any process running on that port number, it will display. If you want to kill that process by using kill command with the process ID, you can kill that. And coming to the third question, what is the meaning of this chmod 755 command is going to do? So if you use this chmod command to change the file permission with the 755, what is the meaning of that? So when we talk about 7, here 7 represents owner permissions. So 7 means read plus write plus execute, and 5 means read plus execute. The first 5 is applicable for group read plus execute, and the third 5 is applicable for other users read plus execute. So user is going to get read write execute permission, group is going to get read and execute permission, others are also going to get read and execute permission. Question number 4, what is the difference between soft link and hard link in the Linux operating system? In the Windows, we are going to create the shortcut files, right? Similarly, in the Linux, we are going to create the link files. What is the meaning of a soft link? Soft link means it is a symbolic link. It will point to the path of the file. File will be available in one location. That shortcut file will be created in the another location by using this soft link. And what is the hard link? Hard link will point to the same inode of the original file, and even if you delete the original file, still hard link file will work. If you delete the soft link file, then that means if you delete the original file, soft link file will not work. Whereas if you delete the original file, hard link file is going to work. The next one, what are the file permissions in the Linux and how we are going to change the file permissions in the Linux. In the Linux, file permissions will be represented by using read, write, execute. So total 9 characters will be available for the file permissions. RWX for owner permissions, middle RWX group permissions, last 3 characters represents other users permissions on that file. Then in order to change that file permission in the Linux, we use a command called chmod command. And next question, how do you check disk usage or disk space usage in the Linux machine? By using this command, df-h command, we are going to check this. What is the disk usage of the machine? By using this df-h command, we can check the disk space usage in the Linux machine. If you want to check the usage of the particular directory, then you can go for disk usage -sh path of the directory. Which directory disk usage you want to check, you can give path of that directory here. And next one, what is the command available in the Linux machine to see the system logs? So to check the system logs of the Linux machine, we can use a command called journalctl. Journalctl command we can use to view system logs. And the next one, what is the difference between apt command and apt and yum? apt and yum both are package managers in the Linux. So yum is a package manager that will work for RHEL based operating systems like CentOS, Fedora, Amazon Linux. For these machines, we will use yum package manager. If you are working with Debian based operating systems like Ubuntu, then we will use apt package manager for that. So these are used to manage the software's installation in the Linux machine. And the next question, how to add one user to a group in the Linux machine? Okay, in order to add the user to the group in the Linux machine, sudo user mode, add user to the group, to which group you want to add, which user you want to add. By using this command, you can add user to the group. And the next one, how do you search for a string in a file? Okay, I have a file with so many lines of data. How do you find out that particular keyword available in which line of that file? For that, in the Linux machine, there is a command called grep command. Grep particular keyword and file name. In that file, which line contains the given keyword, all those lines will be printed. And the next command, what is the difference between /etc password and /etc shadow? What is the purpose of this file and this file in the Linux machine? So etc password file contains user details, whereas etc shadow file contains user passwords in the encrypted format. So when you create users in the Linux, in this file you can identify which users available in the Linux machine. That user passwords will be available in this file in the encrypted format. And the next question, how do you manage services in the Linux machine? So in order to manage the services in the Linux machine, there is a command called systemctl command is available, system control. So I want to start Nginx service. Okay, systemctl start Nginx. I want to enable Docker, systemctl enable Docker service. I want to check the status of SSHD service, systemctl status SSHD. Like this, in order to manage the services in the Linux machine, we can use a command called systemctl. And the next one, how do you find out 30 days old files available in the Linux machine? I want to find out the files which are modified 30 days ago, which are modified below 30 days, which are modified exactly on the 30th day. In order to do that operation, as discussed in the previous video, by using mtime command, we can perform that operation. Modified time. By using mtime command, we can find out 30 days old files also. And the next one, how do you find out your Linux operating system? This Linux machine belongs to which OS family? So by using this cat etc OS release, by using this command, we can identify this Linux machine belongs to which OS family. This is the command I am using. This Linux machine belongs to Amazon Linux family. Okay. And the next one, how do you find out the Linux machine kernel version? As discussed already in the architecture, kernel is core component of the Linux operating system. How do you find out that kernel version? By using uname-r command. This command will tell you what is the kernel version of this Linux machine. Without kernel, there is no Linux OS. So like this, you can find out the kernel version by using this command. And next question, how do you find out one user belongs to which groups in the Linux machine? For example, so there is a user called EC2 user. That user belongs to which groups in the Linux machine? ID EC2-user. So by using this command, you can identify this user belongs to how many groups. This user belongs to EC2 user group, ADM group, build group, journal group, and DevOps group also. So one user belongs to which groups? We can check by using this ID command. ID space username, it will tell you. And next question, how to check the execution time of our Linux machine? From how many hours this Linux machine is running? By using uptime command, we can check from how many hours this Linux machine is in the running. And the next one, how do you change it? The next question, how to change the owner of the file in the Linux machine? To change the owner or to change the owner group of the file, we are going to use a command called chown command, change owner. Chmod to change file permission, chown to change owner of the file. And the next question, how to enable password based authentication in the Linux machine? So as we are creating virtual machines in the AWS cloud, by default, password authentication is disabled for the users in the Linux machine. We can connect by default with the PEM file. But if you want to connect with your username and password, you need to enable that password based authentication in the SSHD config file. How to enable that password based authentication? That video I have given in the description. Please check that. And the next one, how to provide sudo privileges for a user in the Linux. Sudo users. So whenever you create a user, that user will be normal user. But if that user want to perform some admin activities like creating other users, installing the softwares and all, we need to provide sudo privileges. To provide sudo privileges for the user, we need to add that user details in the sudoers file. To add that user in the sudoers file, we will use a command called vi sudo command. And the next one, how to create a user without home directory. So we know how to create a user in the Linux machine. Whenever you use a command called user add command with username, user will be created along with the home directory also. But I want to create a user, only user, for that user home directory not required. Then you can use -m option. Then this user account will be created, but for that user home directory will not be available. User add username, user along with home directory. User add -m username, user without home directory. And the next one, how to change the password for the user in the Linux machine. To change the password for the user in the Linux machine, we can use a command called sudo password username. So you can reset the password for the given user by using this command. Good. So these are very important questions that you should know before attending any interview. If you found this Linux crash course helpful, don't forget to like, share with your friends, and comment your doubts or feedback in the comment box. I would like to hear from you. Thank you so much for spending 2.5 hours time with me. We'll meet again in next video.